college football playoff committee, and I'm interested in seeing the ratings. I want to know the ratings from yesterday and compare them to last year when they had to make the decision yesterday. Was it going to be Notre Dame or Miami that was going to be going into the college football playoff? And I think a lot of people agree they did the right thing because of the head-to-head matchup and the closeness of the schedules that Miami does get the nod. They go into the college football playoff. Notre Dame is left out. They have also decided to decline a bowl invite. So Notre Dame is done playing football for 2025. That's another conversation to be had. But they did the right thing. But did they also reveal hypocrisy as both teams didn't win, didn't lose, didn't have any impact on their outcome after the final games, and then they flip-flop teams after a week of shuffling?
I don't want to feel vindicated for what I say about the committee all year long, but I kind of do. Because everything I say about them seemed to kind of fall into place yesterday. They make up crap as they go. They punish who they want to punish and don't want to punish. And again, this is not a shot at Bama. Bama fans, you're going to the playoffs, so don't come yelling at us this morning. But you punish BYU for playing in a playoff. BYU drops. Yet Alabama just gets blasted by Georgia and goes nowhere. Well, why did you do that? Because the hypocrisy a week ago is you told us that Bama moved up because they were gritty and tough for winning at Auburn. No, what you did was to set up drama for yesterday. Because if you really were going to take into account, and trust me, I'm as ecstatic as any person on the planet right now that Miami's in the playoffs. But if you're going to take into account head-to-head over the last 2 weeks, why wasn't it done on Tuesday? Don't give me that BYU was a buffer team put in between. That's BS. And if you're Notre Dame, you should be pissed off that you're not in there. And quite frankly, you should have been compared to Alabama, who over the last month and a half is like a 78 Chevelle leaking oil up and down the highway. Nothing about Alabama over the last month has said I'm a playoff team other than the brand name of Alabama.
They were in a 2020 game in their final regular season game against Auburn. And then they put up 7 points against the Georgia Bulldogs. And now here they go, Finn, riding into the college football playoff with their third loss of the season.
Yeah, I thought they should have been out and Notre Dame should have been in.
I agree.
That would have made the most sense for me. The roll that Notre Dame was on, the streak of, 10 straight, and then to watch Alabama do what they do with the way the quarterback's playing, he looked lost and beat up in that game and didn't look like he even belonged out there. So Alabama is a good football team.
Can they win a national title?
I don't think so.
Can they win more than one game?
I don't think so.
I don't either. I think they'll beat Oklahoma. I don't know. Oklahoma beat them earlier this year. Those are the two weakest teams, non-group of five in the playoffs.
Here's a question, and we've been talking about it for years. What is the value of a championship game? Because for BYU, it's not the same as Alabama. Both teams are in a championship game. Both teams lost, and BYU has fewer losses. Right. They actually lost to the same team twice, and they are out, and Alabama got rocked, and they are in. And then the conversation of, well, Ole Miss and Oklahoma didn't have to do anything, and they were locked in without having to win or play another game.
Yeah, and then my thing is the value of what these championship games were at one point and what they are today are totally different. Look, I didn't have a problem Ohio State falling one spot if you really wanted to go there, but if you tell me Georgia winning against the number 9 team and Ohio State losing, and the way that Georgia won, Georgia didn't move. They just sat at number 3. So the 1 versus 2 matchup, the only thing you did was flip-flop who was the 1 and who was the 2 seed. Quite frankly, I don't know who's got a better draw in that situation either way. And for Georgia and Alabama, they went nowhere. So why are we playing these games other than television money? Because they don't have value if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten. Now, the ACC, you probably got your best team in because Duke won. I think if Virginia wins, they leave Notre Dame in the playoffs. I truly do.
And no ACC squad.
No, Virginia would have then been in instead of James Madison.
Oh, God.
And then Miami, I think, would have been out. But we're to the point, and I think next year if they go to 16, these conference championship games need to go away.
Now, it doesn't matter, but it's also about what you earned. So Georgia's 3 question could be asked, and Kirby doesn't care. You put him 2, you put him 3, you put him 4. Put him in front of us. We're going to try to beat him.
Sure.
And we probably will. But why isn't Georgia, if Alabama is so favored and they're so good no matter what happens, win or lose, how do you stomp them and they don't move? And then in the Big Ten championship game where there's a defensive battle and no scoring, it's a 13-10 game. All of a sudden, Georgia cannot leapfrog the loser of that game and get the 2 seed.
And I'll be honest, as I'm watching it, in my mind, I kind of have ideas of what's going to happen. And I thought for sure, and when they left Ohio State at 2, I go, this is going to be bad at the end. I had a feeling that Alabama wasn't going to move anywhere. If the committee would have been smart to avoid a rematch, you would have moved Bama to 10, let Miami be number 9. Instead, now you're going to get a rematch of Alabama and Oklahoma that just was played 3 weeks ago. You know, there was ways they could have manipulated it. You know what? Instead of having Tulane replay Ole Miss, let James Madison be there and let Tulane go to Oregon so you don't have to see a rematch. But I think there's a lot of things in late January when they have their meeting about expanding the committee that they're going to need to get rid of. And I'll tell you a couple of things I feel that died yesterday in college football. Conference championships are on life support. And I think the bowls, as we know them, they're about to disappear. They're really, maybe not completely disappear, but when you see Notre Dame take their ball and go home and not want to play. Iowa State, who lost their coach, Matt Campbell, takes the job over the weekend at Penn State. Say, never mind, we're not going to play. Georgia Southern sat for like hours waiting for their opponent because once they got through the 6-6 teams, they started calling 5-7 teams, and teams were like, nah, we're good. We have too many bowls. We have too many participation trophies, and I think things are going to change in college football. Might not be for the best for some of the lower teams, but I think some things have to change.
How does the conference title game not happening affect everybody? And did you go back to like what the ACC had to deal with, like 5 or 6 different tiebreakers?
Well, they're still relatively new when you saw ACC and SEC
are different now too because they're so big.
That's the issue. Yeah, you have so many teams now. But
so how do you determine what's 10-1 team or
the same way you did this year? Yeah. I mean, you had a jumble of 2 lost teams.
The highest ranked conference champion ends up going to the playoffs. They're our auto bid. You know, the Big Ten is pushing for 24 teams to go like the FCS. You know what would have been this weekend instead of conference championship games that didn't matter? It would have been first round games on campus. And then you get it down to 16 and you go through the rest of the process. I wouldn't have had a problem with that.